of modeling here at CG Spectrum. Go to CG Spectrum for all your modeling needs. CGspectrum.com. All right, what are we doing today? So last week I modeled or I sculpted an insanely twisted rabbit, and that some people seem to like that. So I figured I'd challenge myself and try to do something a little bit more complicated. So this week I basically did the same thing. Went through my art books and I found this guy. So this is Palindrone by Creaturebox. Two very talented artists. And this book I love because it proves that for your character designs, all you really need is a really good silhouette. So all the robots in here, they don't have a lot of detail. They're just all silhouetted, just black and white, like one maybe little small splash of red. So they're not very volumetric, but all the drawings in here and all the work in here is absolutely amazing. So you should guys go check those guys out if you want to see more of their work. It's Creaturebox. Big fan of theirs for a really long time. I think I own like 5 or 6 of their books. They're great, really good stuff. They did a lot of the original Ratchet and Clank artwork back in the day. So really cool. So this is the guy that I picked. His name's Cortex. He's got like this big brain and this tiny little head. And so yeah, some of the things that I'm looking at when I start something like this is very difficult for me because I'm used to having things very volumetrically laid out and very meticulously planned. So there are some things in here that are really ambiguous, like this part here. Like, what is this? Like is this flat? Is it So we're gonna have to kind of fill in a lot of these gaps, and I'm going to try to keep I've been trying to keep the kind of overall feel of the character. I want to keep with the spirit of the character while giving it some volumetric. So I don't think I'm going to get done with this entire thing today because this is a lot of pieces so it's a lot of pieces. So hopefully I'll get a good handle on the face. I've already done some blocking today. Just because it's a lot of wash, rinse, and repeat, so I didn't want you guys to have to sit here and watch me, make a bunch of tubes and cylinders. I'll show you how I made a couple of the parts, but for the most part, I will be focusing on this headpiece and a lot the face. Like, the face is even though it's very expressive, it's also really undefined. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of exploration to kind of figure out like what that should be and what that should look like, especially in here. Like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do for the neck, and I have no idea what the back of this guy is gonna look like. So yeah, so it'll be interesting. I always like to challenge myself, and I feel like this is a really good venue to do it in because it shows that everybody, even the best artist that struggles with something. Everybody struggles with something. No one is perfect. No one is amazing and perfect at everything all the time. So even though you may have your favorite artist and you're like, oh man, they're amazing, blah, 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 there is something in their head that they're like, oh, I'm not that good at that, right? So this, I'm not, I usually don't do hard surface stuff in ZBrush. So I wanted to practice some hard surface stuff. So this is, so this is what I've been doodling around with during the day. So I've been noodling. Maybe this is maybe like 2 hours of work, and it looks kind of more complicated now that I've put it down and like picked it back up again, but it's really not. It's just a bunch of like really simple shapes. So if I solo this, like this guy is just kind of like this Pac-Man shape with a cylinder through it, and then this is just my body with a leg. So it looks, once you see these things in isolation, they're very simple. Like this is the big dome piece, right? It's just kind of like an egg-shaped thing that I pushed around. This is just a sphere. So it's just a bunch of very simple shapes that you can make. So let me turn off solo and I'll show you how I made some of these. So for this kind of like Pac-Man shape, like this shape here, and even this, I think this is looking at this could be pushed a little bit further. It's a little bit too even. Like this kind of has like a nice big opening. So, so how I did that and how I did a lot of this stuff is with append and insert brushes. So I'm just gonna remake this thing here, or make a version of it. I'm just gonna do append, and I'm gonna do append, and I'm gonna do sphere 3D, and let's see, pull this out, and I'm gonna go to my gizmo here, and I'll just shrink it down a little bit. Like that. And how I made this cutout is I just used a clip curve. I made a clip curve and I just made a circle there. So let's do that. So I'm gonna go back to the draw and I'm gonna hold down Control and Shift, and I'm gonna go to clip. I think I actually use clipped circle. Let's see. Clip. Let's slice. Here we go. Clip circle. So I just hold down Control and Shift and draw out my clip, and I just let go, and it goes like that. So that's the wrong way. So if I want to do it the other way, so let's go back and we'll draw this down. So if I wanted to go the other way, I do the same thing. And once like the slice curves, once you've initiated the tool, you don't have to keep on holding it down. So I'm gonna hold down Alt and do the same thing. So it just rips right through that guy. So basically that's how I made this. Now I was a little bit more careful. So the other thing I could do is, I think I did use the clip curve. I did use the clip curve with this. So we could use clip curve. That one's usually a little bit more accurate. So I just came down, tapped Alt, tapped Alt, tapped Alt again, and then that just slices everything down. So that's how I did that. And then I just inserted a cylinder into here. So I can do B, I, insert primitives, and I just grabbed a cylinder. Grab a cylinder and just drew this out on the surface like that. Okay, and then once I have that, I can go back to my move and I can put it into place. So I'm doing this really quick and dirty. I was very much more careful. I did it the other way, so there's that. And so I just sized this and kind of moved it until I got it where I wanted it. And I took the entire assembly and just kind of moved it. So if I want to make this cylinder smaller in 2 dimensions, I can hold down Alt and grab the dimension that I don't want to change. So that's really handy. So if I want to zero out like this rotation gizmo, I can hold down Alt and click that guy. So I can move that around. I can also go to the center of this if I hold Alt and click the little home button there. So now I can scale from the center. So that's how I ended up doing that piece. So you can already see I'm close to there. And then what I did for the bottom, to get that piece that's flat on the bottom, I'll go back to my draw. And I will flip my masking. I'm gonna go back to my, and then what I'll do is I can hold down if I hold down Control and I scale this, it'll clip the bottom of that guy. So now this is clipped on the bottom and that's clipped on the side. So that's how I made most of these kind of the more complex shapes. So that's that. Let me reload this because I just deleted the wrong thing. Okay. So, yeah, so I really want to work on I think the thing that's making me the most nervous about this whole thing is the face. So let's just jump into this. So I'm going to Alt-click on the head, make sure it's selected, and I'm going to do solo. So just this guy. All right. So I've kind of already started to do this, and I have some really basic geometry in here that I've kind of chopped away and used clip brushes and such, but I want to kind of get into this now a little bit more. So one of the things that I'm seeing is all my stuff right now is really straight, and this guy has like these really great kind of curves that he's made of. Like he has this curve. There we go. So he's got this curve here, he's got this curve here, and he got that curve there, which is really nice. So I want to try to like mimic that. So I'm going to use my my move brush. So BMV. So I'm going to do a combination of moving and masking. Because right now, if I take my move brush and I put it on a really big size, I want to make sure, yep, my X is on. And I want to start to make kind of like this big jawline. If I start to pull this, it's going to start to pull the top and the bottom. Now, I could make this smaller, right? But then I'm going to get like kind of like these little wobbly edges. So I want the best of both worlds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mask lasso, and I'm just going to grab this whole top part. So now I have that available. And the other thing is I don't really know the depth of this. So what I'm going to do first, I think I'm just going to pull this jaw outwards before I do anything else. So this thing is made of like really, really simple geometry. So actually, I think I might need more geometry. Yeah, I don't have any spans along here. So I'm just going to go ahead and let me just go ahead and Dynamesh this. This is always the hardest part of starting a new sculpt, is like, oh, just finding your bearings. This little piece is really, really small in relationship to the rest of the robot. So if I Dynamesh this at 128, it's just probably just going to turn to goo. So let's do 512. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Cool. All right, so I'm going to do that same thing that I was going to do before. I want to pull this jaw out a little bit and start working on it. So there's that. And then on the side here, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to... Right. All right. So I'm just going to do move, and I'm going to pull this forward. And already I'm feeling, oh yeah, I like that a lot. That's feeling really good. Already that's kind of giving it some character. Like it's like that jaw is like pushing forward a whole bunch. So I'm liking that. And then these parts kind of meet up as well. So that's cool. So maybe if I can make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, like already just doing that little thing kind of gave it some more personality. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my move. And let's see what we can get. Let's see if we can get some of these forms in a little bit better. So that one actually scoops downward, and there's like a big shape there. Like I said, for me, I know some people who can just kind of breeze through this, or at least it seems like they can breeze through it. For me, this part is always very, very difficult. Just getting things started and getting kind of these rough shapes in. Especially with something like this where there's not a lot of cues. Right? There's not a lot of cues for me to work on depth-wise, so I'm just kind of going off of, what I'm seeing. I'm thinking like this is a corner and that's a corner, so that looks like it's going to be a little bit wider. Yeah, that's that's coming along. There we go. Not too bad. Not too bad. And I'm not super worried about much anything else except for this jaw, what this jaw is doing. And I'll deal with this stuff. Well, I guess I'll do it now. All right. So notice how I'm still working with a super huge brush. So this part I'm not sure, like, is this part of that cylinder or is that part of his face? So right now I'm just going to treat it as part of his face. And let's see, I think this should, so I have no idea what the back of his head looks like. So I think maybe something like that. Maybe get maybe a little angle or something in here. So for this part, I'm just totally guessing because there's no back view for this. Okay. All right. So that's feeling pretty good. Let's do that. Let's look at it in bigger context. Yeah, that's already feeling really, really good. I kind of want to flatten out these top parts, and I want to start to flatten out, you know, the pieces that I need to get flattened. So let's do that. I'm gonna go back to solo, and I'm gonna drop my size a little bit. I'm gonna go to my clay. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna try my B high polish, and I'm gonna turn on Sculptors. So yeah, and I'll dynamesh that one more time. So what the high polish does is it tries to make flat planes. So it took me a while to understand how this brush worked for a while, especially with Sculptress mode. So if I make this brush really big, it'll start, I was like, why is it, see how it's like starting to destroy my geometry. And that's until somebody told me that like Sculptress mode is all based on your brush size. So if you want really, really tight edges, then you need to make a small brush. So as I come in here with this smaller brush, you can see how that edge starts to tighten up as I go over it, because it's making smaller and smaller polygons. So that's one thing to really, really understand about Sculptress, is it is very, very much dependent on the size of your brush. Now, sometimes you don't have to use Sculptress. I have a lot of geometry in here, like right there. I already have a ton of geometry in there. So what I can do is I'll just turn off Sculptress, and then I can use a bigger brush and really start to carve that down, make that nice and flat. So all these surfaces I can start to polish down, because I mean, he is a robot, right? So I kind of want these kind of like nice, and oh, this is a really nice happy accident under here. Did not plan that, but I'll take it. And these forms under here are actually quite nice. And that's just from experimentation. I didn't plan that. I wish I was that good so I could plan these things. But sometimes when you're doing something like this, when there's just not a lot of information, you take what you get. You take the happy accidents. All right. So this is actually coming along much faster than I enjoyed, than I had planned. So that's good. It's good. It means we'll get to more of the robot. Okay. So I kind of want to accentuate this crease a little bit. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to, so this is a little wobbly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my move tool, and I'm actually going to turn off my gizmo. So what I'll do is I'll click here, and there's like this little like bar right here, and if I pull on that, it'll clip down everything on that line. So that gives me a nice super straight line. So I'll click here as well. I'm gonna try to get in the middle. There we go. And I'll just pull this in, and that'll give me that nice tight look. So this is already feeling like nice. I have like this kind of really nice. Maybe I can, let's see. It'll get a little strange when I do it over here. It might start clipping this, so we'll see. Let's see if I can get away with it over here. Now it's clipping down everything. So one thing I can do is, actually I'll just run the high polish over here. BHP. And make sure my Sculptress mode is turned off. I'm just gonna polish this down. Yeah, that's feeling nice. And I'll polish this down as well. Like I said, this part is always weird. It always takes a little while. All right, I'm liking that. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Let's put these side by side. I feel like this part can be a little bit wider. I feel like this is a little bit too parallel. These kind of diverge a little bit. I think this can come up a little bit more. So we can pull this up just a little bit more to give it some of that attitude. And we can do the same thing. This can come down a bit. And this can come up, I think. Kind of give him that jowly look. And then I think, just to give it a little bit of personality, I think I'm going to pull this forward just a smidge. So I'm going to hold down Alt and pull this forward. Actually, I might need a bigger brush. A much bigger brush. Yeah, there we go. So just pulling that forward very, very gently. Just give it a little bit of a curve. And maybe I'll do the same thing to these guys. Give them just a little bit of a curve, so it doesn't look so super mechanical. Because, I mean, he is a robot, but he's still got some personality in there. All right, that's looking good. I'm liking where this is. Let's look at it in context. And yeah. I feel like it's maybe a little bit far forward. So maybe I can come to my move tool, turn my gizmo back on, and let's click this. Let's maybe move it back just a bit. Maybe the whole thing can just be squished a little bit. So like I said, I'm guessing on a lot of this, right? Because it's just not, there's no depth information. It's just a straight on kind of thing. So I don't know, like maybe I'll put a neck back here or something like that. I know I have this little cutout here, so that's one hint about like what's going on overall. It is so hot in my office. My aircon is on the fritz, and I live in Hong Kong, and it's so warm right now. All right, it's feeling good. Maybe bring this in just a little bit. No, I think I liked it wide. It's pretty good. It's wide. It's pretty wide. There's not a lot of the space between here and here and here and here is feeling pretty good. All right. So next thing I'm going to work on is I'm going to try to get these teeth or spikes or whatever you want to call them in here. So I imagine, so they could either be super flat or they could be round, but since there's no kind of indication that there's any surface break in here, I'm going to assume they're kind of like flat kind of plates of something that are sticking up out of the jaw. So that's what I'm going to assume. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. All right, so let's do a B insert. Let's go brush, insert. I want to insert primitives. And I want to insert, let's do a sphere. Make sure you're on your draw when you select the sphere, or it'll replace it. Okay, so I just want to draw this right in the middle, like right here. Okay, so that's cool. All right, so I'm going to do, I want that to be actually quite sharp. So I'm going to go BMV, and in my brush, there was this, I remember, this blew my mind when, this guy, not guy, he's like the ZBrush, one of the ZBrush gods. His name's Ryan Kingsline. He showed in this really, really short video a long time ago, it was really obscure, this AccuCurve button. So what this AccuCurve button does is it makes your move brush be really sharp. Like, it makes it incredibly, incredibly sharp. You get like this super sharp dimple on things, which is really, really cool. So I can come in here and do this, or let's just make my brush size a little bit smaller. I can come in and pull this up like that, and it makes like these really, really, this is great for teeth. And not just robot teeth, but all types of teeth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this middle bit. And then I'm going to use that flattening trick. Actually, what I can do is I can just use, yeah, I'll use that flattening trick again. So let's just kind of move this. Okay, I'm going to go to my move tool, hold down Alt, center my rotation. And what I'll do is I'll just hold down Control and start to pull this in until it flattens to the part that I want. And then if I pull the other way, I get it flattened that way. So now I can just scale the entire thing up a bit. So that gives me like this really, really nice controllable surface. So now I can go back to my draw, and I can do B high polish, and I can polish that front to a nice clean polish, and I can polish the sides. So high polish is really super duper handy when doing stuff like this. So already I have that nice little middle teardrop shape. So let's put that in place. So Alt, put that in the center. And let's move this in and down a little bit. So it goes almost all the way up to that guy. And it's a little bit wide. It's a little bit too teardroppy. But there we go. Already starting to feel pretty good about this. So I'm going to let that sit just outside of the thing there. Let's try. Okay. All right. So now what I can do is I will take and I'll just duplicate this thing, right? So if I look at my poly groups, and I have this and this. So what I want to do is I'm going to do an auto group because I just want to keep all this separate. So I'm going to say auto group. So now this is a group and this is a group, doing that connectivity. And I'm not, once again, I'm not worried about this geometry because I can always Dynamesh or Z-Remesh stuff as I need it later. But I'm really happy with how this stuff is turning out. So what I'm going to do is view this guy. Let's turn this off. Anything else, and then flop that over. There we go. And I'm going to go to my move tool, and let's center this up. So hold down Alt. And I want to actually turn off X for this because I want to make one side and I'll flop it over to the other side. So there we go. I'm going to hold down Control and just scoot this guy over. Now, eventually, I'm going to integrate these with the jaw. So I kind of want them to be kind of flat, but not 100% flat. All right, cool. There we go. So go back to draw. And so now this is where my high polish comes in. So I can start to polish this, and it's going to flatten those two guys straight away for me. So I don't like how this is pulling this part forward, so let's go back a little bit before I started to flatten. And I want to turn on my backface masking for this, so it won't grab the back of these guys. So I'm going to come down to my auto masking, and I'm going to turn on backface. And let's try that again. So it's leaving that backface alone. So I'm getting a little bit of artifacting in the front. So let's go back just a little bit, and let's drop my brush size down a little bit. So be a little bit more ginger with this. The other thing I can do is this topology now is terrible here. Like, it's all over the place. So let's go ahead and Dynamesh this. But I want to Dynamesh and keep these guys separate. So I'll do another, because these two guys are the same poly group. So I'm going to do another auto group. So now they're all stiff. So we'll come into our geometry and Dynamesh this with group turned on. Ooh, sweating. Sweating, kids. And there we go. So now we have some nice geometry to work with. So yeah, that's feeling better now already. It's responding to the curve, to the brush much, much better. Let's go through and kind of polish some of this down. right. All right. So for this now, for this back part, actually, you know what? Do I need to even worry about that? I'm not even going to worry about that back part. Not even going to worry about it because you're never going to see it. Just kind of trying to get rid of that little ledge there. And these things, these are still completely separate pieces. So that's really, really cool. Okay, so I have this side, so let's just mirror and weld this over to the other side. Mirror and weld. Do mirror and weld. Yeah, there we go. So now we have our little teeth in there. Let's see this in context. Yeah, that's working pretty well. Pretty good. Okay, so that's enough for the face. I could bring in the eyes, but I kind of want to bring everything else up to a level so I can kind of see it all at one time. Okay, so let's work on the kind of like this big dome thing here. This is the other big thing that's in here. This big dome thing. So it's got like this brain in it. I'm imagining this is some sort of glass dome. So yeah, so let's work on these two parts. So let me come up here, my subtools, and I'm gonna hold down Alt, click the dome, find out where that is. I'm gonna hold down Shift and push that all the way up to the top. I'm gonna click Alt, find that guy, hold down Shift, push it all the way to the top. So I know my top two subtools are these two guys. So let's go ahead and I want to divide this kind of cylinder tubey thing to be about the same as this guy. So I'm going to say Control D, maybe there. That looks good. So I'm going to merge these together. So I'm going to do merge down. Ooh. No Houdini today. Maybe some Houdini today. There's always possibility for Houdini. So I'm going to do merge down. Okay, so these two are one object. So I'm going to solo this as well. Okay, so what I'll do is the same thing. So I'm going to divide this one more time. And I'm going to go through with my clay brush and kind of start to merge these things together. Because there's like a nice smooth merging there, like right there. So we're going to go B, C, B. And I'm actually going to turn my alpha to alpha 06 and make this a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to kind of gently come through here. Maybe not so gently. And start to fill this in. So just very gently filling that in. And then smoothing it down. Just trying to make that junction a little bit more seamless. All right. So kind of looks like a melted ice cream cone right now, but we will persevere through. And it'll look dope when we're done. Okay, so I'm going to see if I'm really abusing my high polish today. I just want to see what I can get away with it at this point. Alright, so that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Feeling good. So I'm going to go ahead and actually what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and Dynamesh this whole thing together. Fortune favors the bold. So Dynamesh. Maybe blur it a little bit. Oh, I need to get rid of my subdivisions first. Yeah, there we go. So what I'll do, so now this guy should respond to my brush a little bit better. That's feeling good. It's feeling really good, actually. And so B, C, B. And I just kind of want to gently tap. I'll run and try to get rid of this little hole here. Once again, going back to the high polish brush. So I want to fill in this gap, but I don't want to fill it in too much. I still want it to feel kind of machined, but I want a soft transition here. I think I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. So I'm just going to come in here, flatten this part out here. Yeah. All right. Cool. Awesome. So I have these parts. Let's Z remesh this and see what we can get out of it. See if we can smooth out this middle part a little bit. So let's do Z remesher and let's Z remesh this and see what it gives us. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Let's come back down. Let's Z remesh to delete higher. Let's Z remesh to half. Turn off adaptive. And then if we divide back, we should get, yeah, there we go. So we got like a nice, smoother mesh overall. Let's go down to level 2, maybe level 3. And we can work on this kind of edge a little bit more. So there's much less geometry to work on, so your brushes will have much bigger effect overall. So that's one of the things I work with when I have students that are trying to do work like this. They want, instinctively, you kind of want to do more polygons. And you think more polygons is going to get you a smoother result. Generally, it's less polygons get you a smoother result. Cool. It's looking good. It's feeling good. All right, let's see. Context. Yeah, it's coming along. Coming along really well. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to work on these panels. So I think this is going to be a panel. This will actually get cut out, and these I can use as panels. So I'm going to divide this a few more times. Close this guy down. If I do one more, I might be at about 200,000. That's fine. That's fine. And I might even do, let's do a clay polish, see what we get. Yeah, that helped out a little bit. All right, cool. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on these kind of lines and such. So I'm going to use my clip curve to do this. It's so hot in here. Oh my god. So I'm going to use my clip curve. So I'm going to Control and Shift, and I have clip curve. And what I'll do is let's right click and let's say brush radius. So what brush radius does, oh, I don't want my clip curve. I want my slice curve because I want to make new groups. Okay, so I'm going to take my slice curve and I'll work this way, and then I'm going to mirror and weld everything just like I usually do. So make sure I have perspective turned off, and I want to make this kind of swoop here. So what that clip curve does is it takes, you can see, it takes my brush radius and makes a kind of like a track on everything. which is really nice. So too big right now. So let's go back. Take my brush size down a little bit. Try this again. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, so let's mirror and weld this. See what it looks like. Yeah, there we go. So we have like this little kind of crease here. Now I could, if I didn't want this to be completely kind of uniform, I can go back and I'll just turn off my brush radius and I'll just do 2 cuts. So I'll do 2 cuts here. Takes a little bit of practice to get this thing right, just right. So that's going to be my top cut, so that'll be about here. And then my bottom cut okay, so mirror and weld, and yeah, I'm actually liking that better. I'm liking that better. This is a nice little piece here. Okay, so next thing I want to do is I'm going to cut front and back. So I want to be able to work on them separately. So now I have all my back pieces and all my front pieces. So I'm just going through and just kind of defining these cuts. Now this part might be a good candidate for my brush radius. So let's go. This is going to go straight through. Maybe my brush radius a little bit too big. Solo this. Yeah, that's actually working pretty good. Because this is going to be capped, right? It's got these little kind of radio things on the end of it. So I don't need that cap there. So let's mirror and weld this again. So I get both sides. Cool. All right. So now let's start to work on this little piece here. So let's bring back everything. So I'm going to turn my radius off. And let's see, how do I want to do this? I still haven't decided whether this little notch is that notch or if it's something else. I think I'm going to leave it at, no, we'll see. We'll see what it does. So do the same thing. So I'm going to do my clip curve. And that's a pretty hard turn there. So I'm going to double click Alt. And we'll just go all the way across. Right. Cool. So now we have all these groups, and we can start to no, I want to get this little guy in here right now as well. So let's do solo. And I want to just view just these two. So I'm going to do this, that. And I want just those front pieces. So what I want to do with this is I'm going to do a slice circle. So I'm going to come in and do a circle here. So that slices out that circle. But it doesn't slice in the back, so I just want the front. So now I can go back through and start to put together the parts that I want to keep. I think maybe I'll do the same thing for this guy as well. Slice. And that one's like a little bit more oblong. So that one went all the way through. So now I can start to regroup these polygroups. So I'm going to go, I want this. And let's see. So I'm going to start getting rid of the stuff that I don't want to be. So I'm going to define the collar group here. And this is what I find so hard about hard surface stuff is that you just got all these little parts. Control W, and that'll give me that piece. Okay, so this piece, I want that notch in the front, but not in the back. W. And I want these side pieces to be all one thing as well. And I want my front and back of a little dome to be all one thing. All right. Moving along. Feeling good. I think I want all this stuff to be one thing. So. So now I've paneled out my entire kind of like top piece. So I think I said that we're not going to see these end caps. So let's go ahead and get rid of those. So we'll do, I feel like I have a tiny sliver of these guys here. So what I'll do, Control W, put all that into one. And then we'll say delete hidden. Bam. And I'll do double-sided. So now I have all the pieces for like all these little paneling parts. Let's see. Okay, cool. So let's start to panel this guy out, right? So what I want to do is I want to split all these groups into their own kind of subtool. So like this will be a subtool, this will be a subtool, that'll be a subtool, that'll be a subtool, right? So what I can do, there's two ways I can do this. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. So I have this guy. So I'm going to say, split. And that's group split. So if I press this, say okay, and boom, it's going to split all this stuff out into its own pieces. So that's that bottom piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to group all these guys together. Or actually I'm going to put them in a folder. So let's see. New folder, and we'll call this body or head parts, head groups. So whenever I'm working on something that starts to get like a lot of subtools, I usually start to put them into a folder structure. So let's pull this into here, this into here, that into there, that into there. I think that's all of it. And review this guy. Yeah, that's everything. Okay, cool, great, awesome. All right, so now what I can do is, now that I'm working, that I have each one of these, now I can start to Z-remesh these and polish their borders and stuff like that. So let's work on this middle part here. So I'm going to do a geometry, Z-remesher. And I'm at about 14,000 points. So let's do 10. And then I'll just keep going down by half. So, yeah, so that's giving me close to what I want. And I'm gonna polish my edges a little bit because they're probably still a little ragged. So let's do that. Let's go to deformation. Polish by features, and let's just kind of see what that gives us. I think that's polishing these edges a little bit too much, so we'll leave that alone. Right. Let's give me a nice, so if I divide this again, it's giving me a nice look. It's contracting a little bit. Okay, so now what I can do is I can give this some thickness, but I'm going to go through and I'm going to go and do the rest of these parts with my Z-remesher as well. And once again, this is all for I would say this is not, like, remember, Z-remesher is not for production. Like, I'm still getting some really wacky geometry in here, but it's mostly just for concept. So this is definitely a concept piece. So I'm just going to keep pushing this down by half until I get to density that I like. Ooh, too low. Gone too low. So this looks pretty good. So Z-remesher does really well with tubes. All right, cool. Great. So now let's start to bake some thickness to this. So what I don't want is, let's see. This little hatch. Like, that can actually go away. Yeah, so we can just delete that. So we can say delete. Okay. Cool. So now what we can do, now we have this thing back here, we can say, all right, this kind of comes up, we can put something in here that kind of connects everything through the neck and through the body, so we can bring something up in here eventually. So let's see. I do like this, though. I do like where this is going. Let's see. I want to move. Let's see if I can move this back. Oh yeah, that looks really nice. So let's put that there. Let's kind of just scoot this up a little bit. So I'm just kind of slotting him right into that little space. And yeah, so we're getting that look. So I'm going to do BMV, and I'm going to do something very dangerous. when you're working with something this regimented. I'm just going to kind of pull this around just a little bit, just to get a little bit of character out of this. Don't want to pull it too far because I don't want this to be too lumpy, but I just kind of want a little bit of curve in there. All right, that's looking good. Okay, so it's so hot in my office. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna use. I think I'm gonna use my dynamic subdivision. I'll start with this guy. So I'm moving a little bit slower than I usually do. One, because I'm sitting in a sauna, and two, when you start doing like this really specific mechanical stuff, you have to move a little bit slower, or at least I do. I know some people can whip this out real quick, but I am not one of them. So that's why I'm doing this. Well, I'm just trying to grow and get better. So I'm going to go to my dynamic subdivision. I think I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think the dynamic subdivision is the best addition to ZBrush 2021. Everybody's talking about cloth brushes, and I'm super stoked over dynamic subdivision. So let's see. Give me a nice little thickness there. So it's got a thickness of, let's do 0.01. It's easy to remember for the rest of them. I'm going to solo this. So it's giving me an inside polygroup, an outside polygroup, and an edge polygroup, which is fantastic. So what I'm going to do for this is I do have like these little chips here. I mean, I think that's okay. That's okay. Could make it cleaner, but sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, let's see, segments. Let's do 4 segments in the middle. Maybe 5. So if we look, we have 1, 2, 1 directly in the middle, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay. So once again, this is always, as always, this is temporary geometry, and I'm working super destructively. I should be duplicating some of this stuff as I work on it, but you know, fortune favors the bold. All right. So yeah. So I'm gonna apply this. Okay. So that's that. And I want to. Let's see if I can remesh this with the polygroups and see if I can get a better distribution. So let's try this again. I'm going to do Z remesher. I'm going to turn on keep groups. And I'm at 50. So yes, let's do 50. Oh yeah, that's feeling way better now. Way better, much smoother. I did lose some sharpness at these corners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make those corners, like these sharp corners, I'm going to make them into their own polygroups. So I'm going to click here. And so I'm going to go back to select rect and so I'm just going to hide all the parts that I want to be a different polygroup. So I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to polygroups, go to auto group. So everything that's connected that I can see will become its own group. Bring those back. So now I'm going to have these, I should have these nice tight groups in here. I think I'll do the same for this guy here as well. Is this tedious? Yes. Yes, it is. But it's part of the game. It's part of the game. A little bit too far there. Yeah, so this is a poly group, that's a poly group, that's a poly group. And, let's see, that's a poly group. Okay, so let's try that Z mesh one more time. So, geometry. Start getting lightheaded here. Start getting lightheaded, it's too hot. It's too hot. Z mesher, keep groups, no polish on my groups. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's really nice and clean now. Nice, clean, controlled mesh. Let's bring everything back. Yeah, cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, let's go and do, so now that we have that process, let's go and do it for everything else. And this is what you have to do when you do mechanical stuff. It's just the same thing over and over and over and over again. So, love it or leave it. Okay, so do the same thing. I'm gonna go to dynamic subdiv, turn that on, thickness 0.01. And this is really, really rough now that I'm looking at this. So let's go and bring this back. Turn that down so it's applying a smooth by default, and thickness is 0.01. There we go. There we go. Okay, and what did I say? Segments was 5 before, and I'm gonna say apply. Bam. So same thing, gonna grab this guy and polygroup the parts I want to stay sharp. So there, and then I think I want this part back here to stay, no, I think that's the only part I wanted to stay sharp. Yeah. So same thing, come bound to Z mesher and keep groups, don't polish, turn off adaptive. This one's about 5, so I'll do 6. And now I get this nice, cleaner geometry. Once again, still not production ready, but better than nothing. Okay. All right, so now we'll do this part. So this part, I think I want over here, it's a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger, so I want to make these a little bit fatter. So same thing. Dynamic subdiv, dynamic, turn off my smoothing. Let's go 0.02 for our thickness. So now we're getting like this little lip along here, maybe 0.03. And then just like we did before, 5 segments. Say apply. And for some reason, it is giving me different groups, but it's just making them all all the same. So if you want, you can just grab one and just kind of Control W a few times to get different group colors, just so you know what's what. So now I can tell that those are all different poly groups. Okay, let's turn off solo, and we'll turn off this. And so now, yeah, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. All right, for this guy, I think I'm going to push him in. I actually kind of like this little lip here. Like it looks like this thing is inset. So, just like we did before, same thing. Solo it. And you don't have to solo it. I'm just soloing it so that I can see what I'm doing. And we're gonna same thing. Geometry. Give me a snack. Give me a snack. Dynamic subdivision. 0.02. So for this guy, I want it to go in, not outwards. So I'm gonna change my offset. So now it all goes in instead of coming out. Same thing. 5 segments. Okay. So, you're gonna say apply. And then we'll Z-mesh. Very nice. Actually, I don't want to do half. I want to do, let's do, this is about at 8, so let's do 10. Keep groups. Don't polish. All right. Now we in business. All right. I'm liking where this is going. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add some bevels to this. So what I can do, so now that I have all these polygroups, I can crease them, and then I can bevel those creases very nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to crease. I'm going to crease my polygroups. So if you look, all my polygroups now have this like little dotted line next to them. Like that. So now I can go to bevel, and I can go bevel width. .02. And let's do 2. Yeah, there we go. Oops. So now, if you look, I have like this nice little kind of bevel that goes around everything. It's just a little bit just to catch the highlight. So I'm going to do the same thing for this guy. Same thing. Crease polygroups. And 0.01 and 2. So bevel is one of the few tools that's actually live. Like you don't have to like press anything. It'll just do it for you. I don't know how that works inside of ZBrush, but yeah. So now I'm getting like these nice little highlights all along the edge of my pieces. So I'm going to do the same thing for these guys. Crease polygroup and bevel. Yeah, so I'm coming along, making some progress. This is looking good. Looking real good. All right, I'm liking where this is going. So we got our headpiece, we got like this whole big dome thing. All right, so let's move on to the to this part, like this part here. Actually, you know what? Let's see. Should I move on to this part or this part? I don't know. I don't know. Let's stay with the top of the head, and then next week we'll circle back to the body, and maybe I'll do some work up during the week to kind of polish this out and finish it up. All right. So we have this guy here, and it looks pretty well seated inside that. But we can kind of move it around a little bit more. Yeah, that's feeling good. All right, and so for this guy, what I did to make this piece here, all I did was I literally just took a sphere and put it there, and then I just started using my slice curves, and I'm seeing I did actually make a mistake. There's like this part here looks flat, whereas this part here is sharp. So I'm gonna come in and fix that. So let's do slice curve. I just want to chop that off just a bit. Yeah. We'll do delete hidden. And maybe mirror and weld, but this time I'm going to be mirror and welding in, X. No, wrong way. It would be Z, maybe? I think Z. Yeah, Z. There we go. So now I've chopped off the front part. So I actually want to line this up here. So I'm going to scoot this forward. And I think I'll just do a Z mesh on this and see what it gives me, because this is some terrible topology. So this is 1 point. Let's do 2. And that is a bit too heavy. That's pretty good. Maybe I can go half one more time. Yeah, that's feeling good. I like that. All right, so once again, going to abuse the dynamic subdivision, and we're going to put these two guys together. So let's do dynamic subdivision, dynamic. So that's way too thick. And that's too thin. Like Goldilocks right now. This one is too thick. This one is too thin. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comment earlier. Like my chat screen is like really big today for some reason, so it's really hard to see. But thank you so much for the kind words. So I'm gonna keep doing this thickness till about. Feels pretty good, like there. I think that's all right. Yeah, I'm thinking that's good. And same thing, I'm going to do 5 segments. I don't need 9 segments, I want 5 segments. And I don't think I want any smoothing here, so put that down. There we go. I mean, I love, like, this is so the bomb, right? Like, it looks so cool. So I'm going to say apply. Let's turn this off. Okay, so that one's pretty good. Pretty good. And so I'm going to come down to this ball piece, and we're going to divide that a few times as well. And looking at this isn't actually a perfect sphere. It's actually, like, a little bit oblong, so maybe I can pull this in just a bit. Yeah, that feels way better. That looks way more like the actual concept. So I'll just take this guy and kind of scoot him in a little bit. So it's closer. It's like really close to that ring. Now that I'm looking at this. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just checking my silhouette more than anything. I'm checking my silhouette here versus this. And so this guy, he feels a little bit taller. Like he's not quite as wide overall. Like this distance and this distance are a little short. So I could probably fix that, but at this point, I'm okay with it. I'm getting the spirit. The spirit of the little robot guy. And ooh, I just thought of something. So maybe instead of the eyes being connected to this thing, maybe they drop down. Yeah. So I'll make them drop down from this hole like that. So there's something up in here that's holding them, and they're dropped like that. So we get like this dimensionality. So you have this back plate, you have the jaw, and then you have these eyes that kind of sit coming out of this hole here. And then I'll figure out something to do for the back of the head at some point. I'll probably do some drawovers or something in the meantime to try to figure out what's going to go back there. Maybe something like some tubes that go up or down, or maybe something a little bit of both. Mostly just focusing on the front now, but I think that'll be really cool. Actually, you know what? Do I want to do that right now? No. Stay on task. All right. So that's feeling pretty good. This is feeling pretty good. That's feeling pretty good. Do I want to merge these together yet? Probably not. All right. So let's look at these little antenna things. Little antenna thingies. Stuff like this actually in ZBrush is a little bit harder than it should be. I'm not a ZBrush cowboy, and actually I think, yeah, I'm just gonna pop over to Maya and do this little part because it'll take me longer to do this in ZBrush than it's worth. So it's just kind of like this. Okay, let me just pull. Let's see, do I have a Maya up already? Oh, I do. Cool. So this is a little this is some Z-Remesh or like retopology that I was using before. So let's go ahead and save this real quick. Save. Let's say file new. All right. Cool. All right. So I just want to make this little kind of thing here. This is kind of this. Oh man, this is really weird for my muscle memory. My brain just freaked out for a second. So I'm just gonna create Polygon primitives. I'm gonna do a cylinder. Put this over here. Let's go back to Maya Classic. All right, there we go. So I want, I think I want 8, and I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. Oh man, this is really hard. Going from ZBrush land to Maya land is a trip. It's a head. It does your head in. So I'm gonna do face. And like I said, I'm not a ZBrush cowboy, so I can model this faster in Maya than I can in ZBrush. So I will use Maya. If I could model it faster in Houdini, then I would use Houdini. I have no fealties to any one software. So these faces feel a little wide. And the whole thing feels a little bit long. Awesome. All right. So yeah, this would have taken me way longer to do in ZBrush. So I'm just doing it in Maya. And so I think I'm gonna just take and create. And I think that this ball would be like a separate kind of piece. So, Polygon primitives. Sphere. We'll do 8 and 8. I think I'll keep this its own thing. Should be a little bit smaller. So, so if you have GoZ, I'm still experimenting with GoZ. I still feel like this is a little bit tall. It is so hot in my apartment right now, guys. It's crazy how hot it is in here. I'm sweating. I think I've lost at least half a kilogram right now. Just sweating a lot. Sweating it out. Okay, so let me see if I can get my my GoZ working. Let's go here. And just to make sure I don't overwrite something wacky, I'm just going to do an append. And I'm just going to append a star. And I want to be on that star. So just in case this comes in and tries to overwrite something, it'll overwrite the star and not something important. So let's go back to Maya. And let's see if my GoZ is going to work. Yeah, nice. So there's my little antenna. Don't need to. Let's see. Hopefully it didn't wipe out anything. Probably should have saved before that, but that's okay. Let's see, what do we got? Turn off my cylinder. May have lost my face. I think I lost my face. Head group. Yeah, still got all that. Let's go ahead and put. Let's see, is this guy? All right, that'll go on the head group as well. And let's see if I can find my face go. Face just disappeared. That's crazy. All right. Anyway, so let's get rid of these stars. Delete. Okay, and delete. Okay. Serves me right for trying to use GoZ. It's always bitten me. Figured I'd try it. Didn't work. Always good to try new things. Okay. Let's see. All right. There's my little antenna. So I'm gonna take this guy. I'm going to merge down. Merge down. Yeah, okay. Okay. And so now I can just move this guy into place as I need to. So we're just going to rotate this way and make him smaller. And just line this up. So right now, it's way, way too big. This thing is tiny. It's a tiny little kind of detail. Alright, sweet. So, unfortunately, I lost my head. Oh no, that's so bad. That's so bad. Oh well. I'll sculpt a new one offline at some point in the future. Let's see. Yeah, it is gone. Just completely gone. That's what I get for being lazy. Trying to use GoZ instead of just exporting. Never really got that tool to work properly for me. I'm sure some people have, and if you have experience with it and you know how to use it without destroying your ZBrush, without destroying your scene, please let me know, because I have had nothing but bad luck with it. It's too unpredictable. All right, so how much time we got left? Oh, we still got a half an hour. That's a lot of time. All right. So let me save this file. Let's see, file, save as. We'll call this Cortex 2. All right, so let's work on this junction here. So I'm going to basically do the same thing as I did for my poor face that disappeared. So let's see. Let's do the same thing. I'm going to push this up to the top. Grab this guy. Make sure that's the guy I want. Actually, I think that's in here. So I'll go into there. Right. So I'll say merge down. And I'll solo this. Actually, I won't solo it. I think I'll transparent everything else. So I don't need all this kind of the rest of this egg back here. So what I can do is I'm going to go to my, actually I could just do a clip. Yeah, we'll just do a clip. Clip curve. Just clip this. Bam. Just squish that down. Yeah. So the next thing is I think I want to, let's see. I think I want to, actually these are all nice and poly grouped up. So I'm gonna, yeah, I'll go ahead and dynamesh these. Do I want to dynamesh these is the question. Actually, I don't think I need to dynamesh these together because, like in here, it looks like a hard, like this looks like a hard change. So I think I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Maybe divide it one more time, just to get it nice and smooth. Yeah, cool. So I'll just do the same thing just to get an idea for the whole thing. I'm just gonna mirror and weld everything over. So say dynamesh. Nope, not dynamesh, not dynamesh. Brain's starting to fall apart, kids. Let's see, delete lower. There we go. Don't want Z. And I'm going to do the same thing for the little antenna. Need to get rid of my subdivisions. And mirror melt. So this is looking pretty good. It was looking better, but it's not too bad. Not too bad. We got some good stuff going on here. All right. So for the last 30 minutes, let's see. Let's take a break from the head. I think I'm liking where this is at right now. It's like a good level of detail. So I'm going to take these and put these into the head group. So ears and where are my antenna? These little guys here. Those will go on the head group as well. This is looking pretty good. All right, so next thing I think I want to work on, I think I'm going to work on my legs. I think I'm going to work on the legs. Okay, so let's see. My body and my legs are all kind of one thing right now, so I'm going to... Okay, so I'm going to say split hidden. So give me that. So now I just have my body and my legs all out. So let's look at these. So one thing that I really do enjoy, even though this thing is a robot, it's still got this great kind of organicness to the leg. Like if we look at the leg from the side, it's got like this really nice kind of swoop to it, like that. And then you got your foot here. I really like this kind of motion. So I don't really have that in my model yet. So I want to make sure I try to get that, and because that's what makes this look really nice. It's this curve into that curve. It's these opposing curves. It's this pushing this way and then that pushing that way. And that's not a ZBrush thing. That's just an illustration thing. That's what, you know, that's what makes things look dynamic, right? So if I had just had like a stick in a circle and a stick, right? This doesn't look dynamic. This looks dynamic, right? It's these contrapposto curves. So we want to be able to, I want to keep that. And that's one of the things that's really hard about doing robots in CG is they can start to look really, really boring, really fast if you don't kind of add a little bit of this flair to them. All right, so review this guy, and let's. I'm gonna go ahead and do a group split on this as well. Okay, so I'm gonna divide this once, and with my move tool, just going to start to give this a little bit of flex. I'm going to start to give this a little bit of flex. And just that little kind of motion that I just did in there, really moving us along. So I'm going to switch to BM topological. So if I grab one, it won't grab the others. Just kind of bring this down. I'm trying to get this little shape right here. The other thing is we have like this kind of thick to thin, and then this is really subtle, but it's thick to thin here. So I kind of want to get that as well. And I may have to end up really, really sculpting this thing because this is falling apart real quick. Okay, so I'm going to do an inflate. It's really gently, just to get like kind of like the top of this a little bit bigger overall. Just trying to keep a little bit of motion in the top of this guy. And maybe a little bit here. I cannot stress how hot my apartment is right now with no aircon. It's so much pain. I'm so much pain. Yeah, so just with those little kind of changes, like look how much more dynamism we got out of this. This is really much better. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I think I'm just gonna start straight sculpting this. I may use a clip curve in here, but yeah, like I want to get kind of like this kind of pseudo round. I imagine that there's like a line that goes here, even though it's not in the silhouette. Hopefully I can get that in. So generally, I don't sculpt for this long at a shot. I usually sculpt for maybe an hour at a time because you get tired, right? You get tired and you start to make mistakes. So I will probably put this directly down as soon as this stream is over and get some dinner and rest my eyes a little bit. If you haven't noticed, maybe some of you have noticed in the stream, I have blue blocker glasses on that takes away the blue light that hits my eyes. It's really nice. Once I always scoffed at them until I was starting to get really bad headaches, and I started using them, and they're pretty amazing. So I highly recommend, if you're not doing coloring work, like if you're not doing look dev or compositing or something, really consider getting a pair of these because they really help. No particular brand needed, just anything that blocks a little bit of blue light that comes into your vision. So let's Dynamesh these. Yes. And let's do 256. Once again, these are really small. 256 and Dynamesh. Yeah, that feels good. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trim dynamic to kind of sculpt this down. So BT trim dynamic, and I'm just going to that's nice and flat. So trim dynamic is great for starting kind of pseudo organic, pseudo mechanical forms. So already I'm able to kind of get this to look a little bit like I want it. Nice. So I find every time I like move from one kind of block of a character to another block, I find it really hard to kind of readjust, to go from something that was so clean and almost like what felt like almost finished to something like this. It's very hard. I don't know if I'm the only person who has this problem or has kind of like this way of thinking. Like I feel like this is a little bit too organic now. No, I think it's okay. It's okay. Let's go back to our friend the high polish and see what he gives us. Yeah, there we go. Very nice. Very nice. Let's pull this down. That worked wonders. Use it right. The high polish is your friend. Yeah, that worked really well. I got a little bit of this in here, which looks nice. It's feeling good. Yeah. So let's go in and do the same thing down here. Something similar. Probably should have just started with a high polish brush now that I think about it. Sometimes you need to experiment a little bit before you hit the right. Right spot. So this part here is pretty ambiguous, and we'll probably get to the feet next time. Yeah, I'm liking where this is going so far. I like how I'm getting like this little wrap, that same wrap around there that I got before. That's in the illustration. So let's do trim dynamic. Or actually, I think I'm using trim adaptive now. Yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely trim adaptive. So trim adaptive is a little hard to use because it's really, really aggressive. It's extremely aggressive. Just want to get this nice and flat. And I may go and use that yeah, I think I will. I think I'll use that trick again. So let's drop a pin there, and then just flatten this. Let's see. So this is kind of a complex angle. Just trying to find. Go back to our friend the high polish. The man in the high polish. There we go. There we go. That's doing what I want. So the thing about hard surface though is there's no magical solution. You just have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting until you find a solution. So it looks like I clipped off a little bit too far there. So need to. Yeah, that's working really well. So get it close, and then polish it down with a high polish. Get a nice clean finish. Or as clean as we can get at this stage. Okay. So I really don't know what's gonna go here. Like this is really really ambiguous down there. So we'll figure something out to do that. But probably not in this one. Actually, so you know what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and polish that down a little bit more. And I'm just going to come in BMV, and we'll just kind of do something with it. Let me turn off AccuCurve as well, because my AccuCurve is still on. Curve, turn off AccuCurve here, so we get back to our nice soft brush. And for this, I just want to kind of make some sort of connection to that guy. So I'm thinking maybe it's like a rubber gasket or something that will come into here. Something like that. Like some sort of sleeve that this would slot into, and there's some mechanism in here that allows it to move the foot around. Something like that. So I'm probably gonna have to zero mesh this to get some nice clean lines back as well. Let's just see what this gives us if we zero mesh this just right now. And let's see how many active points do we have. It's 49. We can probably go. This is really, really heavy for something so small. So yeah, let's leave it at 5. See what it gives us. Yeah, that's much nicer. And let's just start halving this down. Yeah. Yeah, so now we can control. We can get our curves really nice. Actually, I might even be able to get away with going half again. Yep. So now I have much less geometry to deal with, and I can make these curves much more dynamic without making them lumpy. So remember, if you want nice, smooth lines, use less geometry, not more geometry. That's the tip of the day. I think I'm moving a little bit too far away from the concept. I keep on wanting to put like human anatomy on this, and it's not. It's a robot. It's very, very, it should be really thin. In fact, I'm going to do an inflate on this and just do a negative inflate and just kind of pull this in just a bit. Kind of get that skinniness back. And actually, smooth will actually do that for me as well. Cool. So let's check our silhouette. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Doing pretty good. All right. I think this is a good stopping point. We've got about 10 minutes left. And I don't think I can really get anything more done in 10 minutes. Actually, you know what? One thing I will want to do, I want to try something. Some more new-ish stuff in ZBrush. So I have this, so this is my leg here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to auto group this, and I'm going to split it off into the top and the bottom leg. Actually, I don't even have to do that because they're separate pieces. So I can do split to parts. And so that'll just give me my top and my bottom leg. What I want to do is I want to carve away this top leg with this cylinder. And then I'm going to merge this cylinder with the bottom leg, because I have like this. I feel like this would be like all one housing, and then this thing kind of sits on top. So to do that, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to use a boolean. Now, I'm as a old man in CG, booleans are usually very, very frowned upon. So we'll see how this goes. And so I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to duplicate it, and we'll move that back up to my lower leg. And so I'm going to say start for here, and I'm going to put this guy to subtraction. I'm going to turn on live boolean, see what that gives me. let's hide the other one. Start. View. So either that is a draw error or something has gone horribly wrong. Oh, no, there it is. There it is. There's the hole that I wanted. Okay, great. So if I come in with my move, should be able to build this up. Yeah, okay. So let's take this, and I think, where is it? Under Boolean. Let me save this first before I break something else. Trying new things. Save as. Cortex 2. Yes. Alright. So I'm on my upper leg. I'm going to say make Boolean mesh. See if this explodes. Does something weird. I guess I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I don't really have a lot of experience with live Booleans, which is why I'm doing them in this stream, because I do stuff in this stream that I haven't really done before. I use it as a learning experience. Let's see. What else do I want to do? I think that's it for today. Yeah, I'll throw a high polish on this guy just real quick, just to kind of get those sides flat again. And I'll call it a day. Yeah, so I kind of like that contrast of this square top and this round bottom. I actually might even... just kind of, just very gently, kind of bring that back in a little bit. Because this is really thin here, so I kind of want to stay as close to the concept art as I can. Cool. All right. Well, we got pretty far today. Not as far as I would have liked. Yeah. So we got the head all like this whole big brain piece. All right. We've got worked out. So next week, I'll go in and I'll recover my face or rebuild the face, and then we'll work on kind of the body, like getting these, figuring out like what's happening in here, what's happening with the neck, what's happening in the back here. So and then we'll get on to some of the fun stuff, like these little squidgy arms and the little clasps, and then also like this kind of stuff, like all these little details that are coming off the brain. Now, I really, really like doing that type of stuff. Everybody likes doing that type of stuff, but when you're working in ZBrush, you have to go through your gears. You have to go through these phases. You have to get through the boring stuff before you can get to the really exciting stuff that makes your stuff look really, really cool, like adding bolts and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, thanks for joining. Yeah, for all your, questions about CG Spectrum, you can go to cgspectrum.com. You can go to our Twitch stream. You can go to Facebook. You can go to Periscope. You can go to, we're everywhere. So, yeah, cgspectrum.com. And I hope you have a good weekend. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me while I'm modeling this little kind of crazy little robot. Once again, Creaturebox. Go check them out. This is from Palindrone. Some amazing, amazing work from these guys. Check them out. Check them out. Nice little challenge for anybody trying to model hard surface stuff. Very limited information in this concept. So you kind of have to make things up as you go along. Sometimes things work. Sometimes they don't. All right. So, yeah, that's it for this weekend. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.